My name is Tamar Garb. I'm an art historian. I work at the University College London, and I'm delighted to be here at STIAS working on a new project around the South African photographer Constance Stewart, who worked for a magazine called Libertas, which is one of the first picture magazines produced in South Africa in the 1940s. I'm interested in Libertas from a number of points of view. It's arguably the first time that photographs and long extended reportage appear together in newspaper form. We always think of Drum magazine in the 1950s as the first moment of documentary photography and narrative working together in a magazine. But Libertas, 10 years before, was already doing that. And Constance Stewart was the young woman photographer who was selected to go to cover the South African troops who were fighting in Italy, particularly towards the end of the war, but who went via Egypt, and she followed them in Egypt. She went to France. She was there with the American troops when they liberated France, and then in Italy. So I'm very interested in what it is to be a woman war photographer. What did they think was at stake in sending a woman to the front? What did they imagine that a woman could see when they asked her to develop a human response to the war and believed that women were more capable of doing that? So I'm interested in that, the gendering of this whole concept of war photography, but I'm also interested in Libertas itself as a mediating forum. In terms of the way in which it looks as a magazine, mimicking magazines like Life magazine and Picture Post, how it conceived photography, thinking about photography as a document, as a form of veridical, truthful reporting, but also then how it subsumed those photographs into particular design decisions. For example, putting the photographs into something that simulated a personal album by imagining little corners at the edge of each photograph and designing the pictures to look as if they were just casual records that somebody had taken at the front. So the whole visual economy of the newspaper interests me a lot, as well as its political ideology. It emerges out of a kind of white paternalistic view of the world. It's very much advocates South Africa entering the war because it was dicey as to whether South Africa would enter on the side of the Allies or on the side of the Germans. This was a huge conflict in South Africa. So this magazine, Libertas, acts as a forum, as a vehicle of advocacy for the war effort. It features Jan Smuts quite a lot. It looks very closely not only at the war and at the developments within the war, but it imagines what South Africa might be like after the war. So it's the first time that we have the concept of the new South Africa being formulated. We associate that with 94 and with post-democracy, but in fact already in the 1940s you had editors and journalists and writers and photographers working in Libertas thinking about how you could imagine a post-war South Africa and what kind of social dispensation should be developed. So all of these questions together interest me, and a visual history of Libertas is really going to be the focus of my project.